لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Here in Jordan, Palestinian refugees have been living in poverty for the last 60 years. Amongst those worst affected are widows and orphans. This is the home of Amjad. He is a 12-year-old orphan. He has recently received some surprising news that he has been selected for a free, all expenses paid Umrah trip.
أول مرة بحياتي إني يعني أفكر إني أروح عمرة. بعرفش هيك بيجيني الإحساس. أنا ما عمري سافرت أو رحت أي مكان تاني.
أنا بصراحة كنت حابة أروح عمرة وما صحليش لما إجتني فرصة إنه ابني يروح عمرة انبسطت كأني أنا اللي رايحة انبسطت له كتير.
A few streets away lives another orphan called Naeem. He is 11 years old and has also been selected for the free Umrah.
من يوم ما يعني أخذوا الجواز وعرف حاله بده يروح عمرة يعني داوم على الصلاة داوم مع كل شيء الحمد لله ومكيف يعني مش عارفة أوصف لك كيف الشعور تبعه يعني طول ما يروح يحضر ويعفرت بهالدار إنه يعني خلاص
بجهز أغراضي عشان كيف إني راح أروح المدينة وأزور مكة. بحب ألمس الكعبة.
In the poorest refugee areas across Jordan, a total of 27 orphans have been selected.
عاجز عن الشكر لأنه أنا حلمي من أول ما دخلت المدرسة وحتى وأنا بعدنا طفل إني بدي أروح العمرة.
يعني صدق لو جالي مال الدنيا كلها ما كان يعبرني عن فرحتي في ابني إني يزور بيت الله الحرام.
إذا الله كتب لي كنت أقول إذا الله كتب لي إني أروح عمرة إن شاء الله راح أروح.
لما أشوف الكعبة ما هو مش دغري راح أدعي ما راح أتفاجأ أول شيء.
هو مبسوط وأنا انبسطت له بتعرف كثير كثير يعني شعور بنوصفش لما عرف هو إنه في له عمرة صار ينط وحالته حالي.
The coach has arrived to transport the orphans from Jordan to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Before setting off, the orphans gather together to pray the Isha prayer. Many of these children are meeting each other for the first time and will hopefully make friends during their journey. The children have been requested to board the coach, so it's time to say farewell to their mothers. The journey is expected to last a total of 10 days to visit both Mecca and Medina. Away from their mothers, the boys will now be taken care of by Islamic help staff and local community leaders. For these children, this will be the longest time that they have ever been away from their families, as well as the farthest they've ever travelled from their homes in the refugee camps. Sad to let go of their children, the mothers put their trust in Allah and hope for the best. On board the coach, the children are visibly happy and excited at the prospect of travelling, but for some, the thought of leaving their only surviving parent also feels a little overwhelming. The final checks are being done as the last pieces of luggage are loaded. These third-generation refugees are not only suffering from the loss of their fathers, but they also lack the rights and comfort of their homeland.
خلص بما إنه يعني انولدنا بهاي البلد وعشنا فيها وضعنا يعني الحمد لله مرتاحة يعني الحمد لله إنه خلص بلدنا الثاني يعني الحمد لله. فلسطين يعني إن شاء الله يحل يعني تنتصر إن شاء الله نرجع لبلادنا.
The orphans are in the first leg of their 18-hour drive to Mecca, and the songs and celebrations have begun. They sing nasheeds to help create a joyful mood and good social atmosphere on board the coach. Back at home, The mothers keep themselves busy and reflect on their children coping without their fathers.
كان يحب كتير يعني يضله يحضنه لأبوه إنه تعبان، هذا خاص، المهم إنه يحضنه كل يوم. ويعني ذكرته كتير، يعني ما مش رايح من باله أبوه بالمرة.
الولد كان يلعب مع أبوه، لما أبوه كان هو يلاعب في أبوه، هو الولد يلاعب في أبوه ويحكي معه وحبيبه وبابا حبيبك زي هيك. كمل طلع، أخذناه على المستشفى ورجع عرف إنه مات، وعرف يعني فهمنا يعني كيف الموت. هو لحاله يعني ما شاء الله، يعني هو بفهم، ولو إنه صغير كان ما شاء الله بفهم.
يعني قبل ما يتوفى بنفس اليوم قصي هون والبنت الثانية هون، ويلا عياط يعيط وهو حاضن بيهم. مالك بتعيط؟ بقول له ولا إشي. بنفس اليوم اللي توفى فيه، يعني شو يعني كأنه حاسس عياء بعيط هو والولاد، قصي بحضنه من هون والبنت الثانية بحضنه.
Back on the coach, the children are settling down for a night on the road. To help the children relax, the Guardians play a popular film called The Message. It's a film about how Islam began in the city of Mecca and the sacrifices made by the first Muslim community. It prepares the orphans for where they are going and helps to deepen their understanding of Islam. For some orphans, it helps to reawaken their faith.
للأطفال يعني في ناس بموت أبوهم بيطلعوا بكون بيصلي الوقت بس ببطل يصلي. أخوي كان الأخ الصغير كان يحكي لي دايما لأبوي يا تعال اطلع معي الصلاة، أخوي الصغير. بس بعد ما مات أبوي بطل، أبصر ليش.
The coach is driven through the night and into a new day. For the young travellers, it is their first view of new surroundings in daylight. The orphans have eaten breakfast and are now being informed that they are approaching the Miqat. This is where they will go into Ihram. The children listen carefully and prepare themselves. Once at the Miqat, the children go for a shower to thoroughly clean themselves and put aside all their clothes. To enter Ihram, they are allowed to wear only 2 sheets of cloth. The Ihram represents a sacred state which a Muslim must enter and remain in to carry out the required rituals of Umrah. The children pray with intention of Umrah and jump back on the coach.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك.
They recite aloud the Talbiyah prayer, which is called out by the pilgrims as a conviction that they intend to perform Umrah for the pleasure of Allah. They say this prayer repeatedly to purify their hearts and rid their minds of worldly concerns. The spirituality on the coach is at an all-time high, and the unity of the pilgrims is one of true brotherhood. By evening time, they will be arriving in Mecca, the holiest city in the religion of Islam. The orphan pilgrims have arrived safely in Mecca, and with no time to spare, they head straight to the Masjid al-Haram, also known as the Sacred Mosque.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. الله أكبر الله أكبر.
The group excitedly entered the Masjid al-Haram. This is the largest mosque in the world and surrounds the holiest place, the Kaaba. As soon as they complete their obligatory prayers, they hasten to see the Kaaba. This is the one single moment they've been yearning for. For the pilgrims, it is a sight beyond belief.
وفرح وسرور يعني لا يوصف. إنه لما شفت الكعبة ذهلت من كبرها، من جمالها، من ريحتها.
لما شفت الكعبة لأول مرة انبهرت يعني، ما عرفتش شو بدي أحكي. دعيت لكل حدا اللي يدعي لي. يعني تأثرت كثير لأني شفت الكعبة، يعني شفتها وانبسطت، بس تأثرت كثير واشتقت لأمي ولأبي. أنا دعيت لوالدي لوالدتي إنهم يدخلوا الجنة يغفر لهم. أنا قبل ما كنتش ألتزم يعني بالصلاة، كنت أقطع بس بالصلاة. يعني لما شفت الكعبة صرت ألتزم كثير بالصلاة، ويعني أثرت علي الكعبة وخلتني أصلي كثير وألتزم وصوم وهيك من الأشياء.
Experiencing the Kaaba for the first time has a profound impact on the young pilgrims. The group have now started performing Tawaf, a ritual where they must circle the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise direction. Full of spiritual energy and love of Allah, the young pilgrims embrace this magnificent ritual with each and every step. The tradition of pilgrims coming to Mecca for the worship of the one God dates back thousands of years to the call of Prophet Ibrahim, may peace be upon him. The Tawaf is believed to show the unity of the believers as they move in harmony together around the Kaaba. Everyone here are servants, completely stripped of their status in the world. Here, there is no difference between a king of a country and a refugee without one. Here, they are only worshippers of the one God.
أنا لما رحت عمرة زاد إيماني صرت أحب الصلاة جدا والقرآن وزادت شعار إسلامي وصرت أحب كل الناس المسلمين.
لا، أنا حسيت إنه الإسلام متوسع إنه في كل الدول. حسيت إنه صار في عندي عائلة جديدة من كل الدول، من كل المدن.
دعيت دعاء اللهم افتح لي أبواب رحمتك، ودعيت لأمي وأخواتي وأخواني وعائلتي وقريب.
Amjad is approaching his final circuit of Tawaf and feeling a little tired, so his new friend Jamil lends his shoulder so that they can complete it together as brothers in Islam. After the Tawaf, the children pray within the sacred mosque and take a short rest. They are encouraged to drink as much of the blessed Zamzam water as possible to re-energize themselves. The children now go to Mount Safa to begin their sa'i. They are given a short reminder on how to do it correctly. Then they all proceed forth. This ritual consists of 7 rounds of walking between As-Safa and Al-Marwa, which is a total of almost 2 miles. When under the green light, boys and men are encouraged to jog. This ritual commemorates when Ibrahim's wife Hajar was alone in the desert with her infant son Ismail. She searched for help from hills As-Safa and Al-Marwa 7 times before returning to her child, at which point she finds the miraculous spring of Zamzam. The pilgrims have been encouraged to make the most of this special time, to come closer to Allah, to ask His forgiveness and all that they need. And by miracle, a prayer is immediately answered from the Qasim.
أنا لما كنت بطوف بالصفا والمروة شفت أمي. هي يعني معجزة إنك تشوف أمك وأنت مش متوقع إنها هذا. أنا دعيت كثير إني أشوفها والله حقق لي الأمنية. أنا لما شفت أمي كنت قلقان كثير وكنت عيط شوي،
لما شفت أمي طمنت وزاد إيماني بالله كثير.
They meet each other at the same historic place where Hajar was reunited with her son Ismail.
أنا لما كنت أطوف وراح السعي وكنت أتعب كثير، بس كنت أقول لازم أكمل عشان بعد هالمشوار الطويل أوقف. قلت لا، ما بوقف عشان أخذ حسنات في الدنيا وبالآخرة.
فوسيلتنا هو سيدنا والعز لنا.
أنا عجبني لما كنت بالسعي بين الصفا والمروة، كيفت إنه كان عملادي وأنا بالعمرة، كنت كيف كتير زي كأنه عملادي جديد.
The exhausted orphans have performed their sa'i and are now at the nearby barber shop. They request to have their hair completely shaved off, which is the preferred way.
أنا لما رحت آخر جزء بالعمرة إني أحلق شعري، حسيت بفرحة كبيرة، إنه وكمان أنا وأصحابي كلهم حلقنا نفس الإشي، ويعني ما في اختلافات بيننا كان.
The cutting of the hair brings the children out of the state of Ihram. Their great act of Umrah is now complete and waiting with Allah to be rewarded.
I look, I see a world of beauty.
During their time in Mecca, the orphans perform a second Umrah on behalf of their deceased fathers. This not only helps them in coming to terms with their loss, but gives them a way of honouring and doing something beneficial for their families.
أنا عملت عمرة عن والدي والحمد لله هو مبسوط عني الآن.
وكان يعني شعور جميل، وهسه أنا عندي شعور جميل لأنه أنا هسه متأكد إنه بابا صار بجنان الخلد.
يعني اليوم زعلان إني راح أترك، مثلا كان في عندنا مسافة قصيرة بيننا وبين الحرم، يعني كان بإمكاني أروح في باص إنه عاد أوصل الحرم وأشوف الكعبة.
The children are also taken on ziyarat, a visit to the historical sites of Islam to help increase their knowledge and strengthen their Muslim identities. Here, they learn about the difficulties faced by the first Muslim community who were driven out of Mecca, something that these Palestinian refugees can relate to and take hope from. They also visit Jabal Rahmah, the site where Prophet Adam and Hawa, the first man and woman to be created by God, were reunited on earth. This provides the orphans a sense of real human history.
أنا هسه بنتظر أروح على المدينة المنورة وأشوف قبر الرسول.
The orphans are now going for a special visit in Medina, the city of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. They are all excited, as they are not just visiting the grave of their beloved Prophet, but because they are meeting their orphan Prophet, who they feel very close to. In Medina, they are met with the tranquility and peace of the Al-Masjid an-Nabawi, also known as the Prophet's Mosque. Once inside the mosque, the children are eager to pray. Like Masjid al-Haram, each prayer in this mosque is worth more than 1,000 prayers. It is regarded as the second most holiest site in Islam and visited by millions of Muslims across the world each year. The orphans go to visit the Prophet's final resting place to greet him and wish peace and blessings upon him. Like most Muslims who are fortunate enough to visit the Prophet, they are in awe of being in his company. The orphans also greet the companions Abu Bakr and Omar ibn al-Khattab, May Allah be pleased with them. On hearing the plight of the orphans, the Imam of the mosque explains some of the history of Islam to them and tells them how to correctly greet the Prophet. Touched by their story, the Imam personally invites them to pray on the Rawdat al-Jannah, which literally means the Garden of Paradise. This is a small sacred area that extends from the Prophet Muhammad's tomb to his pulpit. It is believed that whatever you pray for here, it is accepted by God. These poor refugee orphans from Palestine have been exalted to VIP status. Their dreams of performing Umrah and meeting their beloved Prophet have come true. While reflecting on all they have experienced and witnessed, the children celebrate with a small, humble feast of bread, cheese and cold drinks. Back on the coach, the atmosphere is peaceful. The last 10 days of striving for Allah's pleasure with their new companions have finally caught up with all of them. They have pushed their bodies through the hardships of Umrah in the hope of answering the call of their Lord. After giving it their all, these exhausted children sleep most of the way back to Jordan. The memories that they have collected while on Umrah will stay with them for the rest of their lives. They have been on the spiritual journey of a lifetime. The only desire they now have is to share all what they have seen and done with their families, especially their mothers, who are waiting in suspense for the coach to arrive. And here it comes. The children have returned safely and are delighted to be back with their families. Though happy to return home, sadness can be felt now that the journey has come to an end.
أنا استعبت معي كتير أصدقاء بهاي العمرة. أنا تعلقت كتير معهم وانبسطت كتير معهم، تعلقت فيهم، راح دايما أضلني معهم.
The absence of mothers and sons have been a reminder to both how much they mean to each other. Their loving company has been painfully missed, and the bond between them has only strengthened. Palestinian refugees have been living in poverty for the last 60 years. These children will now return to their lives, but not as the refugees that left. They have experienced things that are priceless, that go beyond the reach of poverty and oppression. They may still struggle and will miss their fathers. However, these orphan pilgrims can now see past their camps. Their world has changed. Now they believe they belong to something great.
It's a brand new day. I'd like to put a smile on your face every day. Mom, I'm grown up now, and it's not too late. I'd like to put a smile on your face every day. The number one for me. The number one for me. The number one for me, oh, oh, number one for me.
One God, one faith, one soul. One book, one deen I chose. One breath, one qibla, one voice. One kalima, one heart, one choice. One man, one sunnah, one vision. 1.6 billion now listen. One big family in many countries. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We will always stay together, right until the very end. We will never ever say never. That's the message that we send.